Okay, so there's YouTube is on. Okay, and I see that Lynn is just joining. So I'm just going to open the meeting and then I'm going to juggle the agenda a little bit so that Lynn can speak first. Good afternoon and welcome to the City of Kingston Tree Commission meeting. Today is Thursday, February 17th, 2022. My name is Suzanne Cahill. I am the Planning Director for the City of Kingston, and I'll be hosting this virtual meeting. Before we begin the meeting, I'd like to go over a few guidelines to help navigate the system as efficiently and respectfully as possible. We are now using the Zoom webinar format. All the members of the public and press are present as attendees, and applicants have been provided links to join as panelists. Attendees may be promoted to panelist as required. As host, we reserve the right to mute anyone who unmutes themselves. Commission members and city staff will control their own mute button. As good practice, we ask that you mute yourself if you are not speaking to avoid background noise and feedback. If a commission member or staff wishes to speak, they will raise their hand and I will call on them before they speak by stating their name clearly for our audio listeners. The commission member will then unmute themselves, state their name and speak clearly, muting after finished. All of the meetings are recorded. Both video and written transcriptions will be made available to the public on the city website at a later date. We are also live streaming this meeting over the city's YouTube channel. If you have any audio issues, please send a text message to the following number, 845-443-0416. Please be aware the phone calls will not be answered during the meeting. The number again to text is 845-443-0416. I want to thank you for your patience, and we will now begin our meeting at 3:36 p.m. And let's just do an open introduction of who is here. Again, I'm Sue Cahill. I am the Planning Director for the City of Kingston. We have Vince Archer, Commission member. We have Corinne Dutille, who's a Commission member. We have Elizabeth Collins, a Commission member. We have Amanda O'Neill, who's a Commission member, and Evan Kang. There he is. Okay. Who is also a commission member. And we do have a guest with us today. So if it's okay with the commission members, I'd like to move her to a panelist. This is Lynn Woods. And I just promoted her, so hopefully she will pop on shortly.
George, Professor is on the phone, and he was just wondering if there's a tree commission meeting. Did you send him the link?
Yeah.
So
Lynn, hi.
Hi.
Can you just give me 1 second? George is on the phone.
Moxie, quiet.
I apologize for that. George is on the phone trying to get in. Okay, so Lynn, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Lynn wanted to talk with the board about the Henry and the Franklin Street Safe Routes to Schools project and about the tree work that will be going alongside that work. So Lynn, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sue, for letting me talk, and I appreciate all the service that our tree commission members do. So I do have questions more than wanting to speak. You know, Sue, that I've been concerned about the tree removal that was part of the original preliminary plans for both projects. And I understand that now some of the trees will be preserved. Greg Krupp has been in touch with me in answer to my questions. And I think I spoke to you about it a long time ago. So my question is, I'm unclear about this. I guess one of the things, well, first of all, I want to just say that I've been lobbying the city in my letters and my articles to preserve bluestone and trees. So I want you to know where I'm coming from. I'm very concerned about the removal of healthy, mature trees in Kingston. And I actually went on the Tree Commission page of the city website and looked at our tree inventory from 2018. And if you guys haven't seen it, I really highly recommend everyone in the city reads it, because that tree inventory really advocates for preservation of existing trees. Yes, it's great that we're planting new trees. We absolutely should be doing that. We need it, but the value of a mature tree is far greater than of a new tree. And researchers have found out that with most tree species, they only begin to sequester significant amounts of carbon when they're at least 50 years old. So that means the new trees being put in now, they won't really be valuable. And of course, they will be valuable ultimately until 2075. And that doesn't equal what we're going to lose if we take down these mature trees. So I'm very concerned about this. I live on Pine Street between Henry and Franklin. And I'm fortunate to have some trees in my backyard. And I've just been noticing all the bird life, the insect life. I put a pollinator garden in front of my house. I planted a redbud tree. And if, you know, and so so if you look at the trees in your yard, you become aware that these are incubators of life. And we know that we're in a climate crisis. The insect population is plummeting. We need to do everything we can as a climate smart city, as we are, to do this. So I just want to put that up front, that that's where I'm coming from. So I know that with Franklin Street, I'm hearing that 6 of the trees of the 14 will be preserved. One of my questions is, first of all, the tree commission does weigh in on these projects, right, Sue? I mean, what
Yes,
is your guys' role with this when the city gets a grant to do a project that's going to impact trees? Do you guys get to review that? Do you get to put your input in? I mean, just tell me a little bit about what your role is.
Yes, we do. We've had just recently, we did have Greg Krupp and Amanda Joy from GPI present the Henry Street project. As far as the Henry Street project is concerned, only 3 trees are being slated to be removed.
That's great. That's
and
much
those
better.
those three did go before this commission. We reviewed them and we consented to their review.
Now, Sue, I know I spoke to you about those maple trees, the 4 maple trees off Broadway. 2 of them are untouched by Central Hudson, and they're the only shade within, blocks. Are those 2 of the trees you're going to keep, I hope?
I would have to actually look at the drawing to confirm.
Mhm.
I don't have it in front of me, but we can confirm. I can share with you the street numbers. I can share that with you. I will send you an email with those street numbers, where the trees, the 3 on Henry that are going. There are 2 closer to Broadway. And then there is one that is around Clinton Avenue area.
Okay. Because I know that 2 of the smaller trees on Henry off Clinton were actually planted by the city. So I'm thinking it certainly doesn't make sense to plant trees if we're going to be taking them down. So I'm really glad to hear that. I was wondering, because if you look at the sidewalk, I don't know how they're going to fit 6. And now I heard it's 5 feet of concrete with these trees. So are they doing some kind of like variance or way to go around these trees? Because it looks like the issue is that you're just not going to be able to fit that width of sidewalk.
Again, I know that there are varying widths, and these questions are really posed better to Greg and Amanda. I did give them an invite to come today, so I don't know where they are, but I can double check that. I mean, the new plans, with the trees that are not being removed, they are to be protected. And the sidewalks are to work around them. Now, there might be a little bit more taken on the inside of the sidewalk that is part of the public right of way as well.
Okay, right. Well, I mean, I'm glad that the city is doing that, but I would hope that in the future, when we get these grant projects, that we would really start thinking of trees as living infrastructure. There's been some very eloquent writing about the value of trees, and I just feel like we've lost so many, and we know that certain trees have to come down because they're old or diseased. So let's not take down perfectly healthy, mature trees. Right. And I know in Franklin, more than half are still going to be taken out. And I know that I saw the existing conditions report from the contractor, and in it, they commented that almost all those trees are in good condition. So I'm kind of wondering, like the block between Pine and Fair, which is one of my favorite blocks to go in the summer because it's one of the few in Kingston that has trees on both sides of the street. I'm sort of worried about what's going to happen to those trees. And I mean, again, I guess I would talk to Greg to find out which ones they're taking out.
Right. On Franklin, I believe that there are 10 trees being removed in total between Wall and Broadway.
That's a lot of trees.
Yeah, that's the number. That's the last number that's in my head.
Well, there's a group of people that are lobbying against this who are very
Okay.
concerned. And I'm just saying, if you walk down the block I just described, which I do almost every day with my dog, there are birds in the hedges they want to remove, in the trees. I mean, some of those are native species. There's a red
I'm just going to
maple.
unmute for a second because that block that she's referring to is the block where my house is located.
Yep.
And two of the trees that are getting removed, because I was just outside with Greg a couple days ago, it's actually a fortunate thing to the homeowners because those two trees, and I think there's a third one that is possibly getting removed that doesn't have that many problems. But two of them are hollowing out and would be coming in front of our commission and costing the homeowners some money very soon. So I feel as though out of those three trees that are on the same homeowner's property, that homeowner is going to be very fortunate to have this project remove two of them. So that would be very costly to him.
So I hope that
Or
that
her.
sycamore across the street from your house is not getting taken down, which is only like 20 feet tall, the sycamore.
That is not
That's
getting
in-
taken down.
All right, so they are, and I know that there's like Norway maples, which are not as valuable as the red maples. So I'm hoping the ones you're talking about are the Norway maples. I mean, I've looked at those trees on that street. And there's also some huge locusts further down the street.
There's two that are closer to the Fair Street than in Pine Street. And if you look at them, they're hollowing out. There's
Okay, but what
problems.
about the trees further down, like the locust trees by the library down there?
I
mean, 10
do not
trees is
know.
a lot
We
of
didn't go down that far.
10 trees is a lot of trees. That's all I'm saying. Like, I
Okay.
understand if they're hollowed out, but if they're taking down healthy trees, that's a real issue. And
Okay.
and by the way, also I want to let the commission know there was a huge oak tree on Clinton that the property owner removed. I don't know if that property owner went to you guys because my
The
understanding.
property owner did come to this tree commission and there were some underlying issues with regards to the utilities there.
Okay, because it was
Which
really
is-
heartbreaking. That was a gorgeous oak.
And it was not right. It was something that the tree commission struggled with that decision, but they were left really with very little alternative because of the utility for that house.
Okay, well, my other thing is that I know that you got a grant for planting trees. And by the way, I'm really happy that you're planting the trees. I'm not saying don't plant new trees. I'm just saying the tree inventory, if you read it, advocates for both, for a diversity of trees and for keeping whatever mature trees we can. And 10 trees is a lot of trees. So, I mean, that is upsetting because I heard they were going to save 6. Maybe I was mixing it up with Henry. But the other thing I want to mention, Sue, and the tree commission is that I know with this planting program, it's up to the homeowner. And a lot of homeowners don't seem to understand the value of trees. What I'm wondering is some cities are just doing tree planting programs. And if the city took the responsibility for maintaining those trees, because they need a lot of water, I know that with my red bud, I had to water it, it takes a lot of more care, these young trees, as you probably know, than existing ones.
Right.
But if the city had the money, or better yet, as the tree inventory advocates for, a tree management program, which I think we really need an arborist, since we do have a lot of trees in varying conditions, and there are issues, with infrastructure and these sidewalk projects. It'd be great if there was a program that you're just going to plant trees somewhere, not so much up to the property owner. If the city took responsibility for the first year, I don't know if that's like completely out there and out of field and no one's going to listen to that. But I know my street of Pine Street has very few trees, only the one I planted, and no one around here seems to be interested in planting the trees, but it is an ecological issue. And as a climate smart city, I would think that it would be something high in our agenda.
I think if our code did not state that the trees become the responsibility of the property owner,
Mhm.
and the onus is then on them for the forever care.
Right.
It might be a lot simpler for the city just to go around and plant trees, and follow up with just a year of care. But it's the long-term assurance that that tree will be managed and maintained appropriately is why we don't do that.
Yeah, but I mean, after it's really that first year, and then a little bit the
I
second.
know, but it still becomes the property owner's responsibility of pruning it and maintaining it for the life of the tree.
But you guys are doing that in Franklin and Henry Street. You're putting in live trees. It's not up to the property owner.
We are, and I believe that the engineering department has been out there and doing the outreach with the property owners on
Right.
those.
But I mean, I'm just saying that's an example where you're putting in trees. And I know that I think I asked you about this or one other person that said that the city is responsible for the first year in case people don't water them. But anyway, I just want to express my concern about all the trees we are losing. And if we're losing 10 trees on Franklin, that is really upsetting. Even though I understand some of them may be hollowed out, but some of those trees, I mean, there's a lot of bird life in them. And there is a bat. I looked at all the documents. There's a threatened species, the northern long-eared bat that the DEC talked about, that the bat, I think it lives within 5 to 1.5 miles from here, and it's a threatened species and it roosts in trees. I actually saw an owl in my catalpa in my backyard. There is warblers, there is bird life. And if you're going to remove all these large trees, it's going to start disappearing. And I know that bat, the DEC said that winter cutting, meaning that if the trees are cut before March 31st, would be the best thing they could do. So it's not roosting in the trees. But now I'm hearing from Greg that the city's going to try to get a variance. And so if it cuts those trees down in the spring, that is like really bad. I mean, that's the worst time. That is going to impact wildlife. So I don't know what the deal is here.
I'm familiar with that bat and the regulation there. And I do know about the March 31st deadline. It's a DEC deadline. So I don't know whether or not the DEC will issue that variance. That's something that, Greg is working with.
But I mean, they shouldn't, because it really is damaging. You know what I'm saying? I get that there's a timeline, but I mean, this is a big problem. And I just feel like, how can we call ourselves a tree city if we're doing this? I know it's not your fault. I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but a lot of us are very concerned. And I just dread the day when the chainsaws show up on either side of me and all these trees are taken out. So I just want to express my concern. I have looked at the tree inventory. It really is a wonderful document. I wish the city would use it moving forward. We should look at our bluestone inventory and our tree inventory if we want to protect our natural and historic resources. And I feel like the Henry Street and Franklin Street projects kind of didn't. I mean, the city is now trying to make it better, but the preliminary plans called for every tree to be gone, all the bluestone, except that in the historic district. And I just think that these sidewalks are creating a lot of problems for people with now, in addition, we find out hedges are being taken out, shrubs are being taken out, and I just don't understand it, how this is going to be good. I mean, yes, I agree. We need to make our sidewalks more accessible, but we can do it in incremental ways without spending millions of dollars removing these things.
Right.
So I know I'm here to talk about trees. I just wanted to share my opinion and my concern, and I'm not the only person. There are a lot of people concerned about it. And I do appreciate your responsiveness, Sue, because we have talked on the phone and I feel like, yes, you care. But I feel like if they're going to cut these trees down in the spring, that's really going to be bad. Okay. And I don't think we should do that. Maybe delay it.
You have 2 commission members that want to speak. Corinne, you had your hand up first.
Yeah. Hi, Lynn. I think we met before, and yes. I want to let you know that we are on the same side. Like for us to remove a tree, it breaks our heart. We tried everything not to remove every tree. You should be at some of we have lengthy meeting where we are just trying to find a solution to save every tree we can. We are on the same side. Like every time it's just it's true. There's lots of issues about utilities and stuff that sometimes you cannot see because some trees were planted in big trees were planted where they were not supposed to be planted because now they're expanding and they're jeopardizing the safety of people around and pedestrian. And most of our decisions are made because of safety purposes. It's utilities can be damaged, people can be damaged, can be injured. So it's definitely the way we do it. Every time we can, we plant as many trees as we can, and we try to save as many as we can. It's not like we have a different agenda than yours. We have the same.
Well,
we are we worked on a tree list that represents most of the native trees. To make sure we work for the biodiversity, and we updated all the lists to make it more accurate and more eco benefit. So this is what we are working on. But thank you. I mean, you should join the tree committee.
Well, I might. Thank you very much. And
You should.
And one other thing I want to say is I think we're getting $17 million, right, in these rescue funds. I mean, maybe some of that money could be used for a tree management plan because we need to have tree pruners. You know, that would help save the trees we have. So anyway, thank you very much for that. And I really do appreciate the fact that
And
you guys are
Amanda,
there.
I'm sorry, Amanda O'Neill, you had your hand up as well.
And some of those bushes and shrubs that you're talking about, Lynn, have also now been preserved to not be taken down, at least from the Franklin Street project.
Like the hemlock hedge on the corner of your block off Fair Street. You know, there's like this massive hemlock hedge that goes around onto Fair. There are tons of birds in that hedge.
Okay, well, I don't know about the doctor's property down there, but my hedges that are over 30 years old are no longer going to be taken down, and there's probably about 200 birds in my hedges every day.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. So in other words, you're saying the city is responding and they are being sensitive in that. And I'm really glad to hear that. Thanks for sharing that. And again, thank you very much for listening. And again, I really appreciate you all being there and doing your work, and maybe we'll join at some point, because I do really, you know, I understand it's complicated, like it's not an easy thing, but I'm glad that you care.
Great. Well, thank you, Lynn.
Okay, thank you for hearing me.
Okay, yep, bye-bye.
I'm gonna leave now. Bye-bye.
I want to introduce to our alderman who's joined us, Alderman Rennie Scott Childress, who is our liaison to the commission for this year so far. And I see Evan Kang has joined us as well. I just want to put that on the record. George Profus, who is our DEC forester, is also on the line with us. And Anita, I'm sorry, I skipped over you at the beginning of the meeting. Anita is here representing the CAC. So let's move on. Evan, one of our members, actually submitted an application for the property that he and his partner own at 185 Clinton Avenue. I did circulate the application around. It's a pruning request. Evan, do you want to speak about that? I can pull it up on the shared drive if we need to.
Yes, and so basically that is a request to prune the tree due to like ice storm. You know, there's a tree in the backyard actually fell, and so just on the same token, you know, there's some that particular tree in the sidewalk and in front of 185 Clinton Avenue actually has some the big branch failed. And also just like, you know, we also try to evaluate, you know, the tree, you know, so we are trying to prune this dead branch, and so hopefully it will come back better in the spring. And so that's the only request we are asking, just for the pruning permit.
Evan does have a tree service lined up, and they've actually already submitted their insurance. I don't know if any other commission members have any questions for Evan on this. I think it's a great thing that he's trying to preserve the tree, and we all recognize the damage that recent ice storm did, the devastation that it did across the board, not only in the city, but in the outlying areas. So if we can save these street trees by pruning them, then I'm very much in favor of that. So if there are no questions, if someone would make a motion for me, that would be great.
I would make a motion to allow the pruning on 185 Clinton Street.
And we're going to put all of our standard conditions on that, Amanda. And can I have a second on that motion?
Vince will second.
Okay, second by Vince. Is there any discussion?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hand, or Okay. Anybody opposed? Okay. You're carried, Evan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving along, Kyla could not be with us today, but I want to just say that we had the mayor put out a statement on Facebook, and he did another blurb in his weekly newsletter. And those two actions alone produced a great amount of interest. So we received quite a few additional requests that we are going through and processing. Kyla gave me a short report that I'll just hit on some of the highlights. She's working with our purchasing agent right now on the request for bids, and we're looking at a return date of that by mid-March. So we're looking at a bid opening around March 20th with initial goal of planting trees between April and the end of May. So we would have a potential second planting in the fall if we need more time to locate additional sites. But so that project is going forward. We're possibly looking to do another neighborhood walk with flyers in the upcoming weeks, depending on the weather. That was, I think, quite successful. I want to thank Tebby and Kareen for helping Kyla and I get out there. That just going out door to door and putting those flyers in those generated a few interests. People that submitted them or who we talked to, we said spread the word, so they got some neighbors involved as well. So it was successful, and if we can do another round of that and hit just another focused or concentrated neighborhood, again going back to the inventory and looking at the areas where we see that there are significant lags in street trees, focusing on those, I think, is a good way to use that inventory. So, and that's what we did. And so we can hit up some more neighborhoods and do it that way. So if you are interested, just shoot Kyla and I an email, and we'll get some dates together that we can go out and just spend, an hour, 2 hours just walking up and down some streets and handing the pamphlets out. And so she also had that somebody from the New York State Urban Forestry Council reached out to do an article on Kingston and our grants. So we're working with that. And I think it's because of some of the work, Amanda, that you did with our Arbor Day ceremony and the program that we had last year that Kingston got this attention. So kudos to you, Amanda. And that was great. The entire tree commission with the poetry contest, that was wonderful. And they, a lot of the poems were passed on to other DEC representatives that handle other communities. And our program is being used as an example of a way to do a different kind of outreach during, with the COVID and with the schools kind of not really yet fully engaged in all these public activities. So it was we got a lot of recognition for that, which I thought was really great and wonderful. That kind of leads me into Arbor Day. For this coming year, it's April 29th. It's going to be here before we know it. I don't know if people have program ideas or locations, suggested partners. Amanda.
I was thinking about it, and it was tossed around last year during the tree planting that we would possibly be doing something with Kingston High School, especially with the new renovations that they did to plant a tree in the front area where they had said that there would be some room, and maybe doing some sort of a partnership activity with students at the high school level this year.
Okay, I'm in favor
So
of
if we want to come
that.
up with some suggested ideas for a theme, I don't think New York State has released a theme for, I didn't see anything. I did look, but I mean, maybe it's still because it's early.
George, you're on the call. Can you unmute? Would you have any input there as from DEC?
Well, yeah, there isn't a theme for Arbor Day in particular. There was a theme for the poster contest for Arbor Day. You're gonna have to give me, I'll have to get back to you. I have to check a file here.
Okay. All right. Yeah. If you can, if there is some theme, that would be good for us to get a knowledge of soon, because
I was thinking perhaps a lot of the 9th and 10th grade students are required to do a credit of studio art in the high school level. So maybe we could talk to the woman that I had worked with from central office and perhaps come up with a concept for the students to create an art project to be voted on at the high school level. That was just my idea that I tossed around in my head. I don't know if anybody else has.
I like that idea. With City Hall being right across the street, we used to, I mean, pre-COVID, we have the downstairs hallway where we've always displayed artwork. You know, whether it be, you know, from a recognized local artist, but it could be the high school students. We have done school, you know, displays here. And I mean, this might be a nice way to, you know, pull the two buildings into an Arbor Day ceremony, and have the posters displayed here in our building. We are open to the public, obviously, you know, with protocols, but I think that could, you know, it would be a nice tie-in.
Yeah.
Green, do you have any ideas? I know you do a lot of work with students and kids with your garden projects and all of that. Would you have any thoughts on Arbor Day?
I mean, I think it's great to involve the high school. I think I really love this a lot. And I'm working with some high school students on different projects. And I don't know if they wanted to, yeah, depending on what the theme is, but it would be great to create, like, you know, like some link between like some like learning about the trees, you know, like do some educational stuff about like the tree that's chosen or why do we choose it, like maybe do like I like to do little workshops before we do plantings to kind of like decide, you know, make them decide what tree they want, why do we choose this tree, how we're going to plant it, you know, like stuff like this, and I'd be very happy to participate in this.
And that might be an interesting, if we can pull it together, if like Amanda said, that the 9th and 10th graders do have this requirement, you know, educational requirement to do a workshop with, you know, with some of the, you know, some of those students. I don't know how many of the students would want to participate in a function like that, but it might be a nice way to, you know, tie something in, you know, an activity into the program. I'm not sure. Any other commissioners, Vince or Tebby, Evan, have any thoughts?
No, that one sounds good. I think I like the idea Amanda mentioned.
Okay, with the artwork?
The artwork in 9th and 10th graders. And
Okay.
Corinne said she was working with some high school students already. So maybe if they can propose a workshop to get them familiar with the tree plantings and the types of trees and come up with some sort of theme that they'd like. And I guess George is looking to see what the theme would be for the posters for this year theme for Arbor Day. And maybe we can incorporate that. That would be a good idea.
Okay, George.
I know we did.
Yeah.
I know we did.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Vince.
I know we did a tree planting here in, at City Hall. Must have been 2 years ago, I guess now.
Yes.
3 years ago. I'm not sure. And it would be nice to do something in the front. I see they redid the front of the high school where they had the, you know, KHS.
Yeah, the hedges were all pulled out and redone.
Yeah, they're all redone, but it'd be nice to have a tree there too. somewhere in that vicinity.
There's certainly room over there, and we
Yes.
have planted in that front lawn area before, but there's definitely room for, additional, an additional
Mhm.
plant.
Yeah, you planted some elm. You planted an elm there.
Right.
And something else too. By the way, the theme was for the 4th and 5th graders this year. Usually it's only 4th graders, but it was expanded to, no, 5th graders. And then I was expanded to 4th and 5th graders. And that was due at the end of December. And it was Healthy Trees, Healthy People. And that, so it dealt with anything that had to do with the benefits of trees and that. Also, what they're putting out is a calendar this year where the 12 top winners will be, in the calendar, will be featured in the calendar. So they're doing it a little bit differently this year.
That's good. Okay, so that's the poster contest, but is there an actual Arbor Day theme?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
No, I think they basically go with the theme that they do
with
for
the
the
poster. Okay. Okay. Because I know they had a photo, they had a photo contest as well, right? For people to submit the photos.
Yeah, for the poster, yeah. Mhm.
When was that? Is that deadline over, right?
I think that was, usually that's early December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Amanda, do you want to reach out to your contact at the school district and see, what she says, and then get back to me, and I'll share it with the rest of the commission, and we can move forward. Maybe we should. Is there anyone else that wants to work like on a smaller subcommittee? I know last year we had a couple of tree commission members, and then Kyla and myself, that met aside from the commission meetings and tried to work out a lot of the details that way. Anybody want to volunteer for that?
I mean, obviously I would. but-
Yeah. Okay. So Vince. Okay. All right.
But by the way, I was just giving some thought. I'll just throw this out that if you need anybody, to do something with the high school and stuff, come and talk on some topic, then I'm available. One of the thoughts is maybe to tie it into some kind of a program where the students would learn how to kind of evaluate trees and kind of see what the tree commission does, kind of, take a couple of blocks and kind of evaluate and think about, the balance between removing and everything else, and taking care of them and things like that. Just throwing it out.
Okay. That's a good
Corinne,
idea.
Corinne, you talked about a workshop that, and what was the basis for the workshop? Was that to give them that same kind of information, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I think if we plant a tree in the high school, it would be nice, like if it was coming from the students, to kind of decide, like just to give them like some tools about deciding what trees should be there. And, like maybe I was thinking also, thinking about healthy tree, healthy people, about maybe some permaculture kind of like, guidance about if we planted some edibles, at the school, if it's on the lawn, maybe it's possible. And we can do like the same project at City Hall as well, and get like a little bit of a food forest going on, like things like this, like, seeing a tree as like also like a place, for habitat for wildlife, but also for people. And so it could take like different aspects, but opening up their mind and have them decide where should it be on the ground, like talking about like the height, like the seasons, like all these things, and have them decide, what tree they want, where they want it. Maybe we can plant a few trees. Maybe we can do more than one, but that would be nice to do this with them, like ahead of time. This way, when come Arbor Days, we know how many trees, we know where they're gonna go and stuff like that.
Okay. Anita, you had your hand up?
Yeah, we were just talking about caring for young trees. Is there some way we could get some of the kids, involved in taking responsibility for seeing that it's watered or that sort of thing?
Adopting a tree.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I think it happens when the students plant the trees, then they get ownership, and then they will take care of it. But if we plant it for them and we do everything, then there is no ownership. So yeah, that would be a great way to. Sorry, Amanda, you wanted to talk.
So to piggyback on that, like, I don't know what clubs the high school here has, I'm about to have a high schooler, but not quite yet. When I reach out, I will discuss, because my high school where I work, we have a zero waste club that does a lot of different things with planting, with, composting, etc. So maybe the high school here has something along that line where we can talk to the advisor to that club and, along with doing some sort of a contest or project, set something up like a workshop. Corrine and George might be able to organize that. I mean, things are moving progressively in a positive direction with COVID. I mean, I just got an email before this meeting that we no longer have to do the health check-ins in Kingston School District starting tomorrow. So that's progress all on its own. So that's definitely something to bring up. I know another project in Newburgh right now that might come over here with the idea of like fruit trees, edible things from trees, is they did a seed bank that's now available in the public library. So maybe with like the land trust and us, we could talk about doing something like that, and do programs out of the library, perhaps, to encourage plant life and trees and garden vegetables, instead of like the food deserts that a lot of urban areas are, struggling with. We can join forces with maybe another group and educate the youth in this city on how to change that and provide food for themselves right here in an urban setting.
All great ideas. Tebby.
Sort of along those lines, you were talking about a club. I know there was, I don't know if there still is, I think there is an environmental biology class. I don't know if it goes the full year or part year, but maybe it would be worth touching base with whoever teaches it and see whether this could in any way coordinate with that class to get involved in some way.
Okay, great. Okay, so Amanda, those are some good key words maybe when you have your conversation with the school district. The environmental biology class, what clubs there might be, who the librarian is at the high school, maybe see if they want to get involved. I think there's some key things right there for you to bring up as talking points. Anybody else?
Okay, and I'll reach out to you, Susan, as soon as I have something. I will send her an email tonight from central office and request to have a little conversation like we did last time. And then, because the preliminary, I like to discuss it, on the phone with her, and then we could correspond email afterwards, just to work out the initial nuts and bolts.
Right, and if I recall correctly, after last year's program, she was really excited and engaged with the program. She didn't know what to expect up front, but once she saw how it worked and how it all came together, she was really excited and mentioned getting involved again next year. So I think she'll be on board. And I think that the district, they've always been open to backing the project and the program, and partnering with us. So that's, I think, a good thing.
Yeah, and I will ask also like the high school students that I'm working with, and I'm going to tell them about like a potential project and ask them also who they think we should contact and what would be maybe the best way.
Okay, good. Okay, and if you get names or something, let us know, let Kyla and I know, and we'll get them to Amanda and we'll all communicate. Okay, that way. Perfect. I did have one other, which I think is exciting news. we had an opportunity, we have an opportunity for someone to be trained as an arborist. I know Lynn had brought this up. And so I did put money in this year's budget. It was approved. Thank you, Rennie. And our deputy superintendent at DPW, Ryan Kuhn, is going to be taking the ISA certification courses. So hopefully he'll get through those courses and then take the test, and we will have a certified arborist on our city staff. And Ryan and I have talked about, the fact that the money is being, fronted from the tree commission. So hopefully, he'll take more of a participatory role. And he agreed that he would, he does a lot right now that you don't see him on the meetings, but he does do a lot for us behind the scenes. He is constantly going out. And so particularly when we get calls about tree conditions and questions, Ryan responds very quickly. He goes out all the time, looks at the trees. He's actually identified some issues, and we've had foresters from the DEC go in behind him, and they said that he was absolutely on point and he did a good job seeing something that you couldn't see, you would, or I might miss, but he spotted things. So I think it's great that he's going to do that. And it's great that we'll have a certified arborist on the city staff.
Sue?
Another point
Sue?
I want to bring up. Yes, Tebby?
You said he's going to take the ISA test?
Yes, it's the
What does that stand for?
Institute of it's something standard arborist certification.
Okay, it's some test that an arborist to be certified has to take, but you don't know what ISA stands for.
ISA is the International Society of Arboriculture.
Okay,
Right,
thanks.
okay.
And they give this training, and it helps, in them taking the test. And you pay to take the test, you get certified for 3 years. And during that time, you have to get like about 25 credits by listening to different programs and talks to keep your certification in the future.
So does taking the test, is it just a matter of reading things and then taking the test, or do you have to take classes?
Now, it can be just a matter of reading things, but it's always better to take classes and get some hands-on stuff.
Right. So you can take the test but then they want you to do these 25 credits of.
It's like,
work.
it's an ongoing education. Yeah.
Ongoing education, yeah. And you have to have like 3 years experience, which he does, in in working with trees in some fashion,
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I mean, it seems like to be an arbor.
You can't just take the test. You have to have some kind of background in order to qualify to take the test. There's an application that you have to complete. But this is a series of classes that are being offered to prepare specifically to take this test. So, Ryan, it's I forget how many hours, George, but it's a few hours. It's quite a few hours.
Yeah. Unfortunately, most of it's being done, on, remotely, and it's much better when it isn't, but we have to do what we can do.
Right. And then there is one other thing I just wanted to mention, because I did ask both Ed Norman and Ryan Kuhn from DPW if they would be able to join us today, as I mentioned earlier, because of the ice storm. I thought maybe it would be nice if they could come and just give an overview of, the tree damage that happened throughout our city. But neither one of them were available for today. But in light of that, our office has been fielding quite a few calls about trees and damaged trees, asking, who can take care of their trees. And, so I just want to make sure that if anybody approaches you, any tree that is within the public right of way, that people want to prune or remove needs to basically be vetted before the tree commission. If it's an emergency, we handle it without taking the time to go to the commission. Obviously, if it's a public safety question, that has to come first. But if it is a tree on private property, then it is, obviously the property owner's responsibility. So let people know that if they approach you, we've telling people that, the tree, even though it's in the public right of way, is their responsibility. A lot of limbs were broken but left hanging over public right of ways. The DPW has been doing their best to go around and, get rid of those dangers as best they can. But if, an individual calls you, it is their responsibility. I've been telling people just take the limb down. It's fine, because obviously I don't want a tree limb falling on anybody walking or driving, a vehicle. So I just wanted to let people know that. Amanda.
Just to add something to that, I just want to thank the DPW and the DEC in this area, along with so many, but I mean, right in my particular neighborhood, so many branches and branches the size of small trees even came down both on public property and on private property. Even my neighbor right across the street, a ton on just his property, nothing to do with the city. And the DPW and the DEC came through with trucks and really helped to clean everything up by taking all the branches, whether it be city or private property. So that was a lot of work on both of their parts. And, they really did a great job.
Yeah, I saw, I saw a lot of trucks when I was out. A lot of outside of our area, our immediate area, came and offered, we're offering assistance. And you're right. They were out there and they didn't draw a line, I'm sorry, that's not our response. If they saw a problem, they addressed it. And that was the appropriate thing to do. Anybody else? Yes, Anita.
Kind of skipping back a little bit, I just want to let you guys know that the Conservation Advisory Council also had people very concerned about the Henry and Franklin Street projects and the trees that were being slated to come down. So one of our members is digging into that a little bit deeper as well. So.
Okay. I think that, I've been with the city for a while and, public works projects are approached a lot differently these days. There now is more public involvement in the process and in the design. Whereas when I first started, that never happened. And I don't know if it was just a lack of interest on the public's part. The public's taken more interest, it's so much more engaging now. And there's just so many ways to do that. So it's been a positive thing, I think, and there is some people that are not happy and some people that are happy, but, it's been, I think, done very well. Yes, Alderman Reynolds.
If I could just add on to so I think it's crucial for folks to remember there's actually two different tracks going on in this process on Henry Street. One is the seeker process, and some people are reading that in a very narrow fashion, and they're trying to make a claim, there's one bird, and so it has to go through a whole seeker process. That's a very different track. The other question is, what's the ultimate design going to be? And that's actually still open. So there is on the street a group called the Public Action Committee. So it's members who live on the street who've met, I think 3 times so far, who've given input. So along the lines of what you're saying, Sue, they've worked with the city. There's also been a number of engagements that the city has had with people along the street there. There's going to be another PAC meeting. And so, folks can be talking to the city and making suggestions about design and potential for saving this tree or that tree or more trees. So it's not a closed process. There's some people who seem to have gotten very worried that this was all cast in stone, as it were, and they were going to be losing all kinds of stuff. So there are going to be some expenses for some people, but I just want to make it clear that the process in terms of design is still open, and there's still a potential for change.
Right, thank you. And I think that when we did have Greg Krupp from our engineering department and Amanda Joy here, we mentioned that these projects are identified on the Engage Kingston website. And the plans are there, and their contact information is there. So really use that website. If you are interested, you can jump on that, and there's more than those two projects. There's a lot of different things that are going on all over the city. You might find it an interesting adventure to look at it. Okay. That is all that I have. I don't know if anybody else has anything. Yep, Tebby, you're muted.
I'm muted. Just to let you know, somebody stopped me on the street. They recognized me, and this woman, she I did not recognize her. I sort of did after we started talking, but she was driving by and she just said, hey, and she wanted to let me know, and maybe I misunderstood her. She said, is there some...
Chubby, you muted yourself again.
Accidentally muted myself.
So you got to go back
some
to
sort
what
of
she
strategic
asked you about.
planning going on, and there's some commission or something that is creating a plan, and they're going to come up with possible trees to use, and that we should go on the Engage Kingston site and look at this. And I'm not sure what she was talking about. And, like I say, I was kind of caught off guard. And I wish I could remember her name. I cannot. But she has come to other tree commissions, and she admittedly said she's a thorn in the side of the city. So I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, or if you know what I'm talking about. But is there some sort of plan being created that's going to include? She said it's a large plan that's going to include lots of things, but one of the things is
there is
trees the types of trees we should be using.
Complete zoning overhaul.
Okay.
So it's basically the entire city, the existing zoning code, which is the old school Euclidean type zoning, is being replaced with a form-based code. So she could have been referring to that because it involves really a lot of streetscape,
Okay, maybe that may be what she was talking about.
The citywide street tree planting program is also out there. And it's been, in social media and all of that too. Right. And that's a citywide, tree planting program. So it could have been that. I don't
think it was the tree planting program that we're doing. I think it had to do with some group. This sounds like it was this zoning overhaul where they're completely redoing the zoning, which includes streetscape or landscaping.
Yes, it does.
Streetscape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Anita.
Conservation group just assisted in choosing expertise to start on a community preservation plan, which is looking at both historic and cultural and some other aspects, but it includes a number of things that relate to conservation.
Okay.
And there will be a public outreach as part of this program, like they did with the zoning, the form-based zoning. So that might happen in a month or so. But
okay.
that is going forward as well.
Great. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Yes, Karine.
Yes, I just wanted to say, like, when there's like a new project coming up in the street, I think it would be great if there would be like some kind of signage or banner to say, like, coming up soon. Like, because sometimes I know like some people have no idea what's going on in their street because they're not connected, or some ways. And also it's a way to kind of update the drawing as it goes. And like all this misunderstanding and like, going to the website and like, this is not possible for some people, but just to have like, like some kind of like signage. I think they do this when they build a new building, like coming up soon,
Yeah,
And
I see what you're saying. Yeah, when new construction, when a project is going on, they put the signs up, coming soon.
This way you go
something
through, like,
under construction.
Yeah, you go through all the trouble of the building and the noise and the stuff, but at the end, you will have like this beautiful building. And I feel like, and it would be such a great way to have some feedback where people have time to kind of, because it's not easy also to look at some plans sometimes for people. So just to have something that they can get familiar to, they can see it updated, see like, oh, now like this tree is here, and be like a reference point. I think it would be such a great way to communicate with like specific, trees, street.
It's interesting that you suggest that, because the folks we chose to carry forward on this preservation plan are proposing that as part of their public outreach, to put up posters.
Who are they? I'm curious.
I don't know that I can tell you yet.
Okay.
It'll be announced.
That brings up something that Sue, you and I and Kyla kind of were emailing around. We were talking about how to get the word out for this tree planting project. And one of the thoughts was some kind of a banner, how they put the banners up for the St. Patrick's Day parade up on the bridge, the railroad bridge abutment on Broadway, and whether we could do something like that to say, interested in planting a tree, since you weren't getting but we decided we needed somebody to foot the bill for printing or making this banner. So, we never really got any farther than that. It was just kind of an idea that was thrown out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the cost of banners are. But I think, if we could get, someone to underwrite something like that, it would be terrific. Could look into it some more. What I would like, is though, just, for one project, where we're almost kind of closing out that part is kind of tough.
Is it really worth it?
To justify the expense right now. But I think, going forward, if there's a way, something that could be, I'd have to think this through a little bit more. I don't like those reader boards so much, but, some kind of placement or location for a sign. Sorry, my lights keep going out on me. If, there was a way to do something that you could be used for multiple purposes, that might be an investment to look into.
You mean like an electronic kind of thing that you could just
I
change?
don't even know where you would put something like that, I don't know. I have to think about that. So. All right. Anybody else?
May I mention something?
Yes, go ahead, George.
Yeah, when the form-based code is being put in, oftentimes it has a section on it that has to do with trees and streetscapes and that. And we got into that quite a bit in Newburgh and in Poughkeepsie and other places, to upgrade the amount of space for trees and the process is where it all fits together. So I would just say that would be something that, keep in mind to, have a seat at the table.
And that is something that is incorporated. I've in the rough drafts, that is something that is being worked into that. I will let you know that. And the draft, right now, what the city is aiming at is to have that completed at, I think it's end of April, May, that a draft should be coming out.
Okay, yeah, because in Newburgh, I mean, I had quite a bit to add to it and stuff, and it was being
Oh,
done
that's,
down there. So, whether they, some of it they used, some of it they didn't, but,
okay.
and that. The other thing is I was wondering whether, did the city of Kingston, which I'm sure they probably did, do anything with, when they're taking down the trees to keep track for, under FEMA? Because FEMA
Yes.
has your tree thing,
Yes, I know I've gotten, I think all of the city municipal departments received emails to track and to start recording all of and document all of the, expenses and what was done for FEMA reimbursement potentially.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was working on that, when the tornado hit, in Newburgh, so I just
Yeah.
want to make sure, yeah.
Yep, no, we got the directive and this Excel spreadsheets to fill in.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah, fun. And one more point, I was looking at your list of trees.
Okay,
I'd like to go through it some more. And maybe if you have someone else that would be interested, that we could tweak it some more, make it clearer. And that.
sure.
I'm still not, I look at it and I still go like, it ain't quite there, And I know
Okay,
it's gonna
Corinne,
always
you
change.
raised your hand. Would you be interested in that? I saw
Yeah,
you go
exactly.
like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so Corinne would be interested, George.
Okay, all right. So I'll take a look at it and then we can maybe get together or talk about it. Good, great.
Was that the list we just updated at the
Yes.
last meeting?
I believe, right? That's the one that we developed and we used to give to engineering for Henry Street.
Right.
But,
So
I'm thinking more for, citywide.
general use rather than a specific street,
Yeah.
even though I think it's pretty good, generally speaking, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's like 2/3 of the way there, but there's a few things that you might be able to add to it. And so, because why tie your hands behind your backs when you
Right.
can use something else too?
Okay,
That's
but
native.
you're talking specifically for street trees, or, because we had some that were listed as non-street trees as well
Yeah,
in
no,
that list.
Yeah, that would remain. I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we should, keep it comprehensive like that because we do on occasion have the opportunity to plant, in parks where we have individuals that
right.
want to, do a planting in a park in memory of a relative or a friend. So we have, options open for them that we can't do along a street.
Yeah, you could actually expand the park one.
Yeah.
Quite well, because there are some really good species that you could expand it with. And that, and the last thing is that you had a listing under that list, there was a thing where you had large, medium and small trees that Evan had put together, which was nice for him to put in there. And I think you had under small trees should have a minimum planting width. I think three, were you still using 3 feet?
Yes.
I would try to go say 4 feet,
Okay.
kind of, you can fudge it and say, or as conditions, as conditions warrant, but we really need to push those things as larger spaces, especially, for the larger planting picture, like for throughout Kingston,
All right, but George, that list was created by you and John, and you already identified large, medium, and small trees. So we just amended that or
Oh, yeah.
embellished it, whatever.
No, I'm talking about the note for the growing space. There was a little
Right.
note that was added onto it that said large trees should have a minimum width of 5 feet, I think.
Right, but that wasn't specifically identified in that list.
No, I think it was added.
Okay, I didn't
think
see that.
I think Evan, I think Evan added it on the top of the City of Kingston tree list for Henry Street project. Evan, I think you added a little note on top.
It wasn't added by, I mean, it was an effort on the whole commission.
Oh, it
Right.
was, okay.
Yeah, the whole commission did that. It just wasn't one person.
Yeah, I just tend to.
Evan did a lot of the typing for us as we talked.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I just tend to like to push it bigger, and then say, we'll work with it, because what happens with the DEC, for example, we've had 20 years of minimum sizes of 3 feet, and it's just awful what happens because people then just take it as a given. And
No, well, I think minimum, I guess, well, yeah, I mean, I can see how that would happen, but a minimum is, I mean, that's the smallest you should go. And I think that's, when we look at that in terms of tree pits or tree lawn planting areas, we have to think of, what we have in terms of existing throughout the city of Kingston. In so many cases, you don't even have 3 feet. You've got like 2 feet, 1 foot. And, people want to try and plant trees in those spaces. And that, that's where we have to say, no, you need at least a minimum of 3 feet, because, a 1 or 2 foot is nowhere near enough. And that's the reasoning between the sidewalk and the curb. If you look at the entire city, they're older streets. They don't have that width.
yeah, I guess the point I'm making is and the DEC has the same problem, is that to be proactive, you got to start to push for a redesign of the streets. And sometimes when you have that kind of thing, too flat, like saying 3 feet, everybody just starts, like what some of your plans had it too, you have the space for the sidewalk, the space for the road, and then this little green area in between, wherever, that's where the trees would go. So we need to try to say, you need larger, places.
Right. Well, I guess I'd almost respectfully disagree with some of that statement, because, as an example, a lot of, what they're trying to do is, rather than create planting areas on 2 sides of the street in order to make the best use of the limited right-of-way space that they have, and still provide, the public sidewalk areas, the on-street parking, bike lanes. They've gone to planting strips on one side so that they can have a 5 foot wide strip.
That's excellent. That's
happening now when
That's
we're
perfect.
redoing entire streets, but that's larger projects.
Yeah, but that's great, because it's actually a design change, that's needed. And then in the future, when there's storms and that, you won't have as many problems
Right.
in that. So, yeah. Great. Well, I'm glad if they could, as you're keeping track of where the trees, where the damage came down and stuff on the trees and stuff, some of that might be helpful in the future, for planning purposes, for the tree commission. Anyway, I'm done.
Okay. Amanda had to leave. I don't know if you saw it in the chat.
Oh, I should probably just email Amanda, but if you have some specific duty that you need help with for Arbor Day, I would help with that. I just don't want to coordinate anything at this point. I have enough coordination to do, but I'm happy to call someone or get in touch with someone, or do something, if you have a specific project for me, I'm happy to help.
Yeah. All right. I will let Amanda know for you. Okay. Anyone else? Great. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for your flexibility rescheduling this meeting. I had an emergency come up, and Kyla did not want to do it on her own. So that was okay with me. So I appreciate your willingness to reschedule. Our next meeting is scheduled for, I should know this off the top of my head,
March
8th. If you can put that on your schedule, again, you should already have the information to participate in that on the Zoom as a Zoom panelist. This meeting was set up specially for this one. So the other one, we'll go back to your original link. And when I talked to Summer Smith about that, you'll receive another notice so that the two don't get confused. So before that March 8th meeting, you'll be getting another notification from Summer just to give you that recurring invite link again. All right. So you'll
What
be
time is
fine.
that scheduled for, Sue?
That it will be the 8th, March 8th,
At what time?
3:30.
Great. Thank you.
And you'll be getting a link too, Rennie.
I'll be a little bit late due to a previously scheduled
Okay.
event, but I'll be there.
Okay, great. Well, I really appreciate you joining us today. I think it's great. Your input was
Glad to be
good.
here.
Anita, thank you for joining us too from CAC. Your input was great too. So, okay, everybody, with that, I'm just going to ask for a motion to adjourn from one of the members.
Motion to
Anybody?
adjourn
You
the
also all
meeting.
hang out? Okay.
You have to unmute first.
Adjourn. Can I have a second?
Is she only working remotely from that?
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Okay, Evan seconded. All in favor of adjourning? Aye.
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 Okay. Have a good night, everybody.